Hey, Kate,
Hi.
are you able to see the share button at the bottom?
No.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make you admin, and
Okay.
it should allow you to do the share at the bottom so
Oh,
you can
awesome.
share your screen.
Okay. Oh, wait, there it is. I
Okay,
see it now.
okay, then I won't shift it so I can moderate over here who's coming in.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna take that off for right now.
If you want to get it pulled up so we can highlight that screen, that first one, that way we just have it ready.
Yep, it's on there. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. My clock says it's 7 o'clock. Um, would you like to get started?
Yeah, you can go ahead and expand your presentation. People will be filtering in at any within the next couple minutes anyway.
Okay. All right, are you ready for me to get started?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, welcome everybody um, to tonight's presentation on an industrial solar field that we have learned about. Uh, all of us, and when I say us, I'm talking about those who are going to be on the next screen. I'll show you. We are part of the Putnam County Rural Preservation Society. This is what we're dedicated to. We're dedicated to promoting the conservation of farm and rural land, protecting wildlife habitat, and ensuring the future of agriculture in Putnam County. So what we're doing is we are really focusing on preserving the legacy that we leave for future generations, because that's where we are. We Everything that we do now is something that our kids and our grandkids are going to inherit. So what we want to do is we want to protect our legacy. These are the officers of the Putnam County Rural Preservation Association. Uh, Hannah Bailey, Lincoln Gaston, Jillian Gaston, Andy Fiddler, Karen Fiddler, Micah Bailey, Brian Cummings, and myself. I'm Kate Skirvin. I am acting as the advisor to this group. I've actually taught agriculture in Putnam County. This is my 27th year of teaching agriculture in Putnam County. So whenever something comes up that is going to affect agriculture within our county, I become very interested. Before we get into exactly what this project is, I want to lay out some ground rules for this meeting. The entire purpose for this is just as an informational meeting, because it's important to understand that all of us who are currently in this preservation society, that we are landowners or property owners, and our property is adjoining property to the industrial solar project. So we're all volunteers. We're volunteering our time, our talents, and our treasures. So we ask that all questions be addressed at the end. Landowner names are not going to be discussed. Names are not going to be are not going to be dropped for anything throughout this entire presentation. That's not our purpose. We do require that everyone is respectful. If we find that your behavior is not respectful of everyone else, then we're going to remove you from the meeting. Okay, so I want to start off with uh, with this, and this is something that I teach with my students all the time, because we spend. In fact, with my intro to eighth grade class today, I told them that my purpose in teaching them an introduction to agriculture is not because I want to make farmers out of all of them, because less than 2% of our population is actually involved in production agriculture. But I do want for them to be involved with community organizations and with preserving agriculture as it is, or doing what they can to make it better, because there is a lot of misconception of agriculture out in the world. So what are we talking about as far as land mass? Because I think that this is a really powerful visual of what this land mass is. So if you think of an apple as a whole, if you cut that apple into quarters, and that apple represents our earth, 3/4 of that apple are going to represent the amount of water that covers our earth. 3/4. So that leaves us with 25% of the entire surface area of the earth in order to live, provide homes, and everything else that we need. So you take that quarter and you divide it up into thirds. 1/3 of that land that is left is truly uninhabitable. It's going to be those that are in the polar regions, those that are out in deserts, really high top mountains. They're going to be places that we would not typically live. Uh, then when you continue to look, you see that 1/32 of that apple is dedicated to cities and homes. Another 32nd of it is dedicated to roads and parking lots. Another 32nd of it has soil that's too poor to raise food. Now, some of this ground is going to be able to be used. We call that marginal agriculture lands. And those lands are going to be able to grow grasses that obviously we can't convert into food for ourselves, but we can put livestock on those grounds, and livestock can convert that grass into a protein substance for us. That means that we have 1/32 of the amount of land mass on this earth for agriculture. That's it. That's what we've got. If you were to take just the skin off of that apple for that 1/32 of a piece, that is the true topsoil that we have. That is that's available for the most nutritious part for of the soil for the plants. That's it. So I want everyone to understand that our land is a resource. It is a natural resource, and we need to do what we can to preserve that land for food production and for other things that humans need. What I think that we have all found is that this portion that is for cities and homes, we have a whole lot of urban sprawl happening right now. Those of you who have traveled on 36 over to Danville, you may have noticed that there was a very large farm just on the outskirts of Danville. And that farm is now being converted into over 1,000 homes. We are losing a lot of farm ground. And this to me is astonishing. Just in 12 years time. So this doesn't even include that farm ground that I just talked about in Hendricks County over in Danville. We have lost over 345,000 acres of farm ground. That's the amount of farm ground that we have lost just in the state of Indiana. This particular map, and I'll make sure that we have a link to it on our website, it shows exactly how many acres have been lost in that 12-year period of time in each county. When you look at where Putnam County is very fortunate. We haven't lost a lot of farm ground. We haven't. But when you look at a lot of the counties that surround us, my goodness, look at all that red. They have lost so much farm ground. And we know why. People need places to live. We were constantly creating new business, and that's not a bad thing. But by the year 2050, we're supposed to have 9 billion people on the face of the planet. And right now, we as a world don't create enough food to feed all 9 billion people. So the real question, and one that has been circulating over agriculture forums, is how are we going to feed the 9? How are we going to do it? I want you also to understand exactly how important the United States is to agriculture, and specifically how important Indiana is to agriculture. We're going to just look at these two commodities. Obviously, there are a lot of other commodities, but we're just going to focus on these two. With corn, the United States is the top global producer. In fact, we produce 32% of the global corn that is produced at 389.67 million metric tons. That's a lot of corn. And I'm not going to go into the uses of corn. Most of us are really familiar that we can use it as livestock feed. We can use it to make cereal grains. We can use it for ethanol, lots and lots of purposes. Indiana, when you look at the nationwide ranking, Indiana ranks fifth in the United States for raising corn. We raise a lot of corn. We do a good job. Indiana is right in the middle of the corn belt. And we have some grade A farm ground here that is perfect to raise that in. Soybeans. Brazil is actually number one now. That may be a surprise to some of you, but they raise 35%. Then when you look at us, we're not far behind at 33% of the soybeans that are going to be raised worldwide. Indiana is fourth in the United States when it comes to soybean production. Indiana plays a very important part in raising corn and soybeans for our national and our world market. I'm going to once again go back to this. Look at all of these acres of farm ground that we're losing. This is not something that is only happening in Indiana. This is happening nationwide. If we continue to lose farm ground, we're going to lose a lot of this. We're going to lose the ability to maintain corn production and to maintain soybean production. One of the biggest arguments that we have with this is, yeah, but GMOs, and they're making, we're able to have a higher yield per acre than what we ever thought that we could. That's true. Absolutely, it's true. However, at some point, we're going to hit the top of the mountain. At some point, there is not going to be a way to make more. So what do we do when we need to feed the 9 and we don't have enough ground? So this brings us to this particular slide. Like I said, all of us who are a part of this 501c4 preservation group, because we are a 501c4 group, we have all received letters. In fact, I know my husband and I have received 2 letters from Energy RE, which is the main, it's the energy solar company that would be putting this in. They are leasing land, and you'll see that land is outlined here in light blue. This is an exact map that we received from Energy RE. If you see, this is I-70, just to give you a couple of points of where this is. Here's I-70. This is Beagle Club Road right here. So you see exactly how far down south that goes as well. But like I said, we've been receiving letters from Energy RE. They have been giving us small amounts of information of what the plan is for this very large industrial solar park. It's going to be just over 2,000 acres. When you put it into perspective, Cloverdale, the town of Cloverdale, is 2,252 acres. So we're talking about an industrial solar farm that is roughly the size of the town that it will surround. That's a lot of acreage. The ground that is highlighted in blue that would be leased to the solar company, it's all ranked or not ranked, but it's all zoned as A1 agriculture. That's the best agriculture land that you can get in the state of Indiana. That's what it's zoned as. So it is prime agriculture land. Here's what Energy RE has promised. They have promised that this solar field would power 50,000 homes. Now, when we ask, so would that power stay in our local area? Is it going to power 50,000 homes locally? We're not given an answer. The answer that we're given is it's going to be sold on the grid. So if it's sold on the grid, which is what they would do, it's not guaranteed to stay here. That power will go and power homes that are hundreds to thousands of miles away from us. It'll go to the highest bidder, whoever that highest bidder is. They have also promised that they would create a lot of jobs. From a smaller scale solar farm that I have been associated with, they don't come out very often to check that solar field. And when they come out, there's only one of them. That's from another solar field that I've been affiliated with. They also promise a lot of tax revenue. And we'll get to that tax revenue in just a few moments. They have also promised that there would be 12-foot high panels that would surround all of the fields, or not surround, I'm sorry, 12-foot high panels. So the reason why they want to put 12-foot high panels for the solar panels is because they can then, they say they can then graze sheep and cattle underneath of them. I don't know. I don't have proper information to tell how successful that would be. I know what I have seen in the solar project that that I have been very close with, but I don't know what this would look like. They would also have fencing that would surround all of the fields. And they say that they are going to put native plantings around the perimeter of all the fields where those fences are. What those native plantings are, we don't know. We don't know if they're going to be small shrubs. We don't know if it's going to be milkweed. We don't know what it's going to be. We just know that they've promised native plantings. We don't know how much, any of that. Here's the timeline for this. From 2025, so beginning actually this month, from what we have learned, beginning this month until 2027, what they'll be doing is they'll be pulling leasing, they'll be pulling permits. They are going to try to get this whole area rezoned to a natural resources zoning. Because if it is a natural resources zoning, then they can technically put a solar field in this ground. However, if it does not change zoning, if it stays A1, they will not be able to put an industrial solar field here. So they're going to try to change that zoning. They're also going to have some public hearings. So this isn't something that they would that they just get it rezoned and then they start in. They do plan to have some public hearings. I don't know what those are going to look like, where they're going to be. We don't have that information. In spring of 2027, should all of this that is supposed to happen 25 through 27, should all of that come to fruition, they would begin construction. Construction would last 18 months. So a year and a half of construction. Then they would have the working facility in place and running by 2029. That's the timeline. This is just showing you, I pulled this from GIS. This is showing you exactly how this land is zoned. The current zoning for all of the land that is in question is A1 agriculture protected, meaning that unless it is rezoned as something else, that it can only be used for agricultural purposes. So here are questions. Some of these questions we have asked specifically and have not been given full answers or not as much detail as what we were hoping for. Some of them are questions that we still have that we're trying to get answers to. Will local construction companies be used? Per a taped interview that one of our members has with with one of Energy RE's representatives. She states that they try to use local construction companies, but that doesn't necessarily happen. Will the county be responsible for road damage due to increased truck traffic? Beagle Club Road, because I travel on that road every day, it is not rated for the heavy equipment that would be coming down that road. You can't bring a semi down there, you can't bring any of that, and obviously they would have to bring that equipment down that road somehow. If you have had to live through the nightmare that was downtown Greencastle for the last year, and you have seen the roads that go around the circle or around the square in Greencastle, you see that there's a lot of road damage because people had to go around the construction zone. Those construction trucks were still using those roads, but there's a lot of road damage there. So our commissioners, I don't remember if it was last month or if it was a couple months ago, but they petitioned the state to get some more funds to fix the roads that were damaged because people were using that as a get around for the construction zone. The state didn't even give them a tenth of what they were asking for. Our fear is that that same thing would happen here, that these roads are going to be damaged and the company won't fix it. And if the company doesn't fix it, that comes directly back to our county, assuming that our county is still responsible for that ground. I'll talk about that statement in just a moment as well. We have asked what type of native vegetation would be and also how the upkeep will be handled. Because obviously, if they're going to use native vegetation, we don't want for native vegetation to be planted and then nothing is done to maintain that vegetation, and then all of a sudden it's gone. That it's just not there anymore. That's not great. So we want to know that. How will adjacent landowners be made whole by property value decreases? This is something that we have been trying to get an honest answer from them about. What we have gotten from them is that they don't, once we were told they don't anticipate any property value decreases in the area. And another one was that they don't know how much they would decrease. I don't want to give a percentage or anything because truly we don't know the percentage. You don't know what you don't know, and we don't know the percent decrease of property value that would happen. I would venture to say that it would happen. I think people who try to sell their property around this area, I think it would be a little more challenging for that property to be sold. So our question is, how would the people who live adjacent to that solar farm, how would they be made whole? And there hasn't been any kind of a response for that. How do panels affect the cell phone and GPS reception? We have seen recently, we've seen some papers that have stated that cell phone reception is not great in areas where an industrial solar field is. As far as what research there is behind it, we're in the beginning stages of finding all of that research. And where is it going to go into the grid? The answer that we've gotten to that is well, whichever power company decides to purchase it. That's just where it goes. It would be stored in batteries, and then that energy would be sold. Here are some concerns that we have, not only as property owners, but just as citizens who would be living in the area. My goodness, the environmental concerns that we have are pretty high. When you talk about implanting large solar panels, and the metal and the cement that are going to be going into the ground, uh, you're going to be really affecting soil microbes that are in there, that are in the ground um, that help the ground stay nutritious for all plants. You are really going to be disrupting the entire environment for any animals that live in the ground. That may not sound like it's a huge thing, but I'll tell you, oh my goodness, it was probably 10 years ago. A culvert just down the road from me was replaced. We have never had an issue with having small rodents, including chipmunks, come into our house or anywhere else. But you know what? Just replacing that culvert, which was a very small item, we had chipmunks, rats, we had everything coming into our house during the time that they were working on that. We're talking about 2,000 acres of those animals. Wildlife are going to be displaced uh, from another solar field that I have worked around. Um, Trees that were close to where that solar field were, they were left alone for the first 5 years, and then after that, the business that has that solar field was told that the trees were blocking too much of the solar panels, so they cut those trees down. When you cut the trees down, you have additional wildlife that are displaced. Not to mention the wildlife that just kind of hang out in the fields. I mean, we we've all seen it. We drive past these fields and we see deer and we see turkeys and raccoons and possums. We see all of them running around the fields and running around the trees that surround it. They're going to lose that. And especially when the fencing goes up around that 2,000 acres, they're not going to have access to that. So where are they going to go? That becomes a really big issue. There's also going to be a loss of a lot of topsoil. Like I said, topsoil is the most nutritious soil that we have to raise crops in. It takes, and now this varies depending upon where you are. It can take around 500 years for a half-inch regeneration of topsoil. So while this would be in for 30 years, how would it be able to be reclaimed? That's another question that we have. Safety risks, huge one here. There have been several solar farms, especially around the batteries, that have burst into flames. It is a very difficult fire to put out. And right now, our local fire departments, because I've talked to firefighters in the northern part of the county and also in the southern part of the county, and they said right now we do not have the equipment to fight those fires. So what happens if one of them starts? People can lose their homes because of where these fires would be. Cloverdale also sits on a very large aquifer, and where the solar farm would be going in, it would be going in directly over an aquifer. We are concerned about potential water pollution. Now, it's important to understand that there has not been a long-term water pollution study that has been released for solar. They have released several short-term, but they have not released a long-term solar water pollution type of a study. So we don't know that. But you know, I think that we've all been around long enough to know that it's a possibility. Is it a for sure known? No, but it's a possibility. Noise pollution. There is a hum that that you hear when you're surrounded by solar panels. When I would go out and scout the field, that I would scout that's right next to the solar farm, um, you can hear a hum. And I can't describe it, but my skin feels different when I'm over really close to where that solar farm is. Um, and my personal experience, because I scout 3 different fields that are in that area during the summer. Uh, the field that the ambient temperature in the field that is closest to that solar farm, it definitely feels hotter than the 2 other fields that are not adjacent to that. So our question is also not only that noise pollution, how would our animals and how would our children react to that hum that never stops? Is what about the ambient air? If you remember this summer when it got really, really hot, imagine it being like that a little bit more. Other effects, I've already talked about the road damage, but something else, tourism impacts. Believe it or not, Cloverdale has a lot of tourism stuff that happens. You think about C-Bar-C, they have rodeos and they have things there uh, every week. Every week that place is full. We have Lieber, we have Cataract, we have all these state recreation areas, even the Covered Bridge Festival. We have a lot of people who travel through this area for Covered Bridge Festival. And our question is, how would this solar farm impact tourism? Because I think that we could lose some dollars there. Financial breakdown. We've been promised $50 million over 30 years. The specific allocations for that are not known. They have not been been released really. But if you do the math, because these dollars would go to the county, right? So if you do the math, then if it's divided equally amongst all the municipalities, each school system, and then once again, this is per our math. We are not saying that these numbers are exactly how it would be. Just if you do the math of $50 million over 30 years, each school system would receive $66,000 annually. With a beginning salary for a beginning teacher being $40,000, not including their benefits and their 3%, that covers less than one teacher's salary with benefits per year. That's what it would give us. We've already talked about property impacts and about the potential for home value decreases, but here's one that we haven't talked about yet, and that is this idea of annexation by Cloverdale. So some people who are in some very important positions within the town of Cloverdale have had some conversations with some of us. And one of the ideas that was stated would happen if the solar project goes in is that they would annex, the town of Cloverdale would annex all of the area out to and around the solar field. So that means that those of us who are living right next to where the solar field would potentially be, that we would then be in the town of Cloverdale. Town of Cloverdale has additional taxes. So those of us who are living in that area, we would be paying additional taxes. We'd be paying taxes for Cloverdale. And it makes sense why Cloverdale wants to do it, because then they can charge their business tax and tax additional dollars to that to Energy RE. And that's how they want to try to get some more money out of them. But it also impacts those of us who live within that area. So we'd be paying taxes for water that we don't get from them. we'd be paying taxes that would be for snow removal, for roads, for all of that, because the town of Cloverdale is responsible for that. Think about the equipment that the town of Cloverdale has. Think about if they would really be able to plow all the snow that we just got on all of those county roads that would then become town roads. Can they do it? There's also another issue. Those of us who have animals, it's no secret that my family, we have llamas and we have sheep. One of the ordinances that Cloverdale has is no livestock on the ground. The person who talked to someone on our board said that those of us who have animals would not be grandfathered in. So we would have to give up our animals. Now, since that time, I've done some research, and there is a national law called the Right to Farm Law. And if I'm reading it correctly, it makes it illegal for the town of Cloverdale to tell us that we have to get rid of our animals because we're producing some sort of a product by agricultural means. So, if we're selling our wethers for meat, that's an agricultural product. If we're selling the fiber from our llamas, that's an agricultural product. So because they annex us, they can't tell us that we can't have our animals. Maintenance concerns. This is another concern we have from NRGRE. What are the protocols for damage? If we get a big hailstorm, and what was it, 3 years ago, I think it was, that we had that huge hailstorm that came through. My neighbor and I, when we went outside after that hailstorm, we had some hail that was the size of golf balls, and everybody down my road got new roofs. So what happens? What's the protocol if those solar panels get damaged? What happens if those solar panels get damaged and some of that material flies over into my pasture while it's being damaged, and one of my animals cuts their foot, or it gets into their feed, and then we have an issue with them ingesting that? What do we do with that? We don't know. And whose responsibility is it to clean up after something like that happens? So that's kind of all the information that we have and the concerns that we have. What we are asking for everyone to do is we are asking for everyone to contact our local commissioners. Tom Helmer, he's local, Rick Woodall, and Andy Beck. Those are the three who would be responsible for making the final vote to reclassify that ground from A1 to natural resources. So we're asking that people contact them, and there will be a list of talking points that we'll post on our Facebook page and also on our website, just to help you guide those conversations. But we ask that people tell them to not rezone, and to tell them why. Because we want to protect our ecosystem, because we want to protect our farm ground, because we're concerned about safety, because we're concerned about safety, not just from if the panels break, but we're concerned about water pollution, because there's no study right now that has long-term effects. We have all of these concerns. So call them and tell them what your concerns are. We elected these people to represent us, and they don't know how we want for them to represent us unless we tell them. I tell my kids all the time that I don't care who they vote for as long as they go vote, and especially for these local elections, because whoever is in office for these local elections, that is going to affect us more for our day-to-day lives than what it does at the national level. And this is a great example of that. So it is our right to contact them, tell them that we don't want it around, tell them why, and and hopefully they'll make the vote that would prevent that. We have signs that we have for sale, really, and they're not very expensive. I think $10 is what we charge for them. Put signs in your yard, not only so that people know that you don't want it, if that's your stance, but also because not everybody knows that this project is even a thing. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have this informational session tonight, is so that people in our community would actually know that it's being talked about. So put signs in your yard, educate your neighbors about the project, about where it's going to be, what it's supposed to do. Um, One of the biggest misconceptions that we have heard so far is, oh, it can power 50,000 homes. That means that it can power all of Cloverdale. While that's not untrue, that power will be going to the grid. It's not guaranteed that it would come to Cloverdale. And if it did come to Cloverdale, you're still going to pay for it. It's not something that you would just get for free. We asked that people lobby to change the UDO, which is the Unified Development Ordinance. That is the magic packet that tells people exactly what they can and can't do on land that is certified agriculture, certified natural resources. So we asked that you lobby to change the UDO to really regulate where solar and windmills even could go in. Follow us on Facebook. I didn't go into a lot of detail on these concerns that we have, because I wanted to make sure that I got all of them in. So over the course of the next few weeks, I'm going to have short, like 10-15 minute segments that will be posted, that will go into depth about, noise pollution. What does that noise pollution look like? What does it sound like? The water pollution. What have we found as far as studies, and how long did those studies go? What types of native vegetation have been planted around other things? So we're going to get into some more detail on those lectures that will come up. Here's our contact information. Here's our website, our Facebook page, and we have an email set up as well. You'll be able to see our 501c4 on status, our certificate. You'll be able to see our certificate posted on there. Trying to think if there's anything else. Hannah, Jillian, Lincoln, can you think of anything else?
I think we're ready for questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat and I will read them so that Kate can answer them. I know that Joy asked, when is the next meeting and where?
Which meeting are you talking about? Are you talking about the meeting for the Putnam County Rural Preservation Society? Are you talking about any of their public meetings that they would be talking about this solar project? Or the commissioners? The commissioners, I think, met this morning at 9 o'clock. We do have people from our society going to all of the public meetings within Putnam County. That we divide those up so that somebody's at each one of those. So is there a specific meeting that you have questions about?
Hey, I would just add that just to clear any confusion up about meetings. So, for our group as a society, we don't have a next public meeting planned yet, but we will share updates on our Facebook page and our website. So, if we do plan another one, as we get more information and things progress, or if we get a lot more questions from the public and we feel like another meeting would be helpful, we'll definitely share that there. In terms of public meetings from Energy RE, there is none at this point in time. So if there is ever public hearings or things that we are notified about, again, we'll also, share that information as we get it. And then for meetings like the commissioners and those types of meetings, we can share when those dates are. That stuff is all public information, so you are able to find that. But like Kate mentioned, we do have members of our board that attend all of those meetings and are staying up to date on what is discussed there so that we can keep everyone informed as well. So, but you are all free as public to go to those meetings whenever you see fit. So, yeah, please attend and help out. That's it.
Mom, look at this. Mom, look at this one.
And Joy, about, a meeting to voice your concerns. So, we have not been notified that this topic is on any agendas as of yet. So once we get that, we'll notify people again if we get the chance.
Oh, yes. So if everybody reads in the chat box what Brian Cummings just said, if you go to any of these meetings to voice your concerns, please be respectful. There's no need to be rude to people in order to just ask questions and to give them your opinion about what should be done. So please keep your cool and be respectful. Oh, something else that that we had talked about, and I forgot to mention. So going back to taxes for Cloverdale and property taxes, you know, we we looked at the possibility that our property values would decrease. So what happens when our property values decrease? Would we pay more in taxes? Because think about what property taxes are based upon. They're based upon the value of your property. So should our property values decrease, then you have a decrease in taxes. When you have a decrease in taxes, that starts a domino effect to change everything else. You then don't have as much money for roads. You don't have as much money for any of the other types of infrastructure things that you have, and it will eventually make its way down to not being able to have as many jobs in this area. I'll go into more detail of that domino effect in one of my next little podcast type things. Any other questions? Okay, so the ways to help support the group. We have retained a lawyer to speak on our behalf. So if you would like to make a financial donation to help pay for the lawyer, that would be fantastic. There's information on how to do that on our website, and we'll probably get that posted on our Facebook page as well. But truly, call our commissioners, talk to members of the zoning and planning committee, talk to your neighbors. It is so important that everyone is educated about this project and exactly what would happen and what some of the consequences could be from this project happening. Be vocal with our elected officials, but be respectful.
I don't know if I'm on or not. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We're not real familiar with Zoom, so I'm sorry, but we're from South Georgia, between Macon and Valdosta. I don't if anybody knows where any of that is, but we've been fighting almost 2 years, around about 5,000 acres surrounding our home of 25 years. We have also have a group that has retained an attorney. We have went through hell. We went through hell. Our commissioners were corrupt, as I think we've noted throughout the country. In addition to the solar company, also
Well, let's not get into that.
but this has been a very difficult last 2 years for us.
I'm so sorry that you've had to go through that.
So
Where are y'all at on your project up there?
It has not been filed yet. We have heard that it is going to be filed this month.
we're about the same. We're very close to that. We've got a strong,
What energy company is it? What solar company?
It's called Energy RE.
and we're next era. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Melody. I'm sorry that you just had gotten on a little late.
In fact, I even posted it on we have, Irwin County
Citizens
against agricultural
or solar
on agricultural land. We have a website, a Facebook page, and I posted this on our Facebook page. But anyway, and so I tried to get on immediately at 7, but I messed all that up, and so I'm just now joining. So I'm sorry. But anyway,
no, you're fine.
But I just wanted to, because I was late, and I wanted to just kind of tell our story a second.
Thank you. Jillian, were you the one who found out information about the moratorium?
Actually, I think that was Andy, and actually from our lawyer, but I don't know if Karen and Andy want to come off mute and kind of share that, but I'm happy to open it up to them or Hannah.
Okay, so the moratorium it won't stop anything because the fact of old law is still in effect until new law is. So you can't just file a moratorium against this project to stop it. Is that what you're wanting?
Yeah. Andy, thank you.
And the hackers, do you feel the Facebook page is getting enough traction? We would love for people to share our Facebook page. This is something that we need help with. We need people to share a Facebook page. We need people to share information. We live in a digital social media age, and that's where we're going to be able to get the bulk of our information to the community.
Could I have the floor for a second? Uh, I, I think you're absolutely right. Getting a lot of numbers on your Facebook pages, okay, that sends a message of numbers and power and voting numbers for the next elections that are coming up. And I think I hear Melanie with her story. This is across the country. What if you want to look at trying to be optimistic here? Is what these projects have done is brought together, a broad base of grassroots people that have looked at what is going on in our local governments, and they're also corrupt or incompetent, right? That we're all going to get involved and we're going to make things happen and change things, and if we can't get our local government to at least put things on pause to see what Trump's going to do, they're just not being wise, right? So we've got to keep those favors up, and don't think that these politicians are looking at that number. I'm in a very small county here in Indiana, and we've got over that's going to swing vote. We're going to kick these, and this is going to be obstacle. We're looking, and it's going to make. So keep up the good fight, every one of you. Don't lose heart. I'm done.
Thank you for that.
We've had an election here and already replaced some of our commissioners.
That were
Our county chose to do that. So we're heading now. We've just had our first commissioners meeting last night, or Monday night, excuse me. And so
we have made the change in the local government. It's just how far along we are in the process is to see
I mean, our industrial authority just voted in December a $470 million bond. And they were even out of compliance, but they chose to go ahead and vote that through because we had new administration coming in January.
So
anyway.
Oh, one of the other things that people can do to help support this is when these things are discussed at the planning and zoning meetings, or when they're discussed at the commissioners meetings, if we could get people there, we need for the seats to be filled so that everyone understands that it's more than just 5 of us who don't want for this to go through. We need people there, but once again, you need to be respectful.
All right, as we wrap up, does anyone have any other questions? And if so, please throw them into the chat and we will get in contact with you. If we can't answer them right away, we will try and get the answers for all questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions in the group or send us an email. I will get all that contact information put out as well.
Yes, the answer is yes. Rezoning has to happen in order for the project to go through. It has to be zoned from A1 agriculture to natural resources.
Can I just say that if anybody wants to contact me, it sounds like y'all are like way behind us in the process. I mean, not that we're experts, but we're two lawyers deep in it. It's three, excuse me, three. But if we could help in any way, we would be glad to answer any questions that we could. But it does sound like y'all are a little bit farther back, but I can tell you that I pray for each and every one of y'all daily that's going through this.
Thank you. We appreciate that. The county council I don't think it has to go through the county council. Is that correct? I mean, this is a commissioner thing because of land being involved. But there is no mention of an abatement. One of the mailings that we got said that they would not be seeking an abatement. I think they learned from what happened up in Russellville the last couple of years that was a big sticking point with people. So they won't be seeking one of those.
We had a 40% abatement in our area.
All right, everyone, I appreciate you hopping on with us this evening. We are going to wrap it up. We will have the recording put on YouTube. So if you missed anything and you came on late, there will be a link available. Savannah, does anyone know if there are required buffers or stipulations about surrounding areas zoning for natural resource land? They sent out a mailer saying that there were going to be buffers outside of the current UDO. They are going to accommodate and actually have different setbacks than what the minimum is required. However, we will be getting another letter here in the next coming weeks that we've heard through our attorney will be coming. So if you are being surrounded by this, then watch your mailbox in the next couple of weeks. There will be something coming, not from us, but through Energy RE. Their representative spoke to our attorney and relayed that to us. So I don't have all of the answers. However, we are providing you with what answers we do have. And we will also be uploading all kinds of content, statistics, links, things that you can see that have already been studied throughout Indiana and other projects. I highly recommend getting into the Facebook group and looking at the groups that I have already tagged that are way farther ahead in the process and trying to double back and prevent projects from going in or shut down projects that are already installed. If you have any questions, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We will get back to you as quickly as we can. We're all volunteers. We all have families. And so in the next few weeks, we will have another live meeting like this. That way we can record it and let it reach as many people as possible, because we're not going to be the only ones that are being presented with the, I don't want to call it a threat. However, this project, this threat to our livelihood. So with that, we are closing out and we will have a conversation.
I just wanted to say that our project, our ordinance here, our commissioners voted to have our project put 50 feet from our property line.
That's what our current UDO states.
I just wondered a number from any of y'all, and I'm sorry that we came in late. But anyway, I just wondered a number that y'all had in your area.
Yeah, our current UDO is 50 feet from the residence.
The residence. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
All right, I'm going to stop recording and I'm going to end this, and this will be uploaded within the next day or so. Again, thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you all.